Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Sunday, May 21st, 2023. And this, of course, is my newest segment of Markets A Look Ahead. People, let's start off with this because you don't hear a peep about what I'm going to tell you from any of the mainstream media outlets. Again, they must keep you distracted on some kind of nonsensical issues here. But you probably already know what I'm talking about if you follow this blog. We have a big, monstrous problem here, and that is what appears to be a pretty significant sell-off here in global bonds. We are watching this 10-year yield just rise. It's getting a little bit, I would say, troubling just to see this here. And the reason why I think it's not getting any attention at all, really, is because the stock market seems to again be defying gravity, regardless of anything else. People, what do we just find out? What do we keep hearing about? Week after week after week that goes by, month after month. The economy is cratering. I mean, factory activity, manufacturing, debts, deficits, the availability of credit to small businesses here, the middle class as a whole is being cut off deliberately to fulfill the corporate agenda here. It's astonishing, but that's what's happening, and this stock market, regardless of anything, is defying gravity. It's an incredible thing, but we know who's doing it. We know who's buying the market, okay? This is central banks, it's the Fed. They have a trading desk, period. The market is just so twisted, so out of touch with reality. The gap here that you know all about between the economy and the market, this is going to continue. It's continuing to get wider and wider and wider, almost off the charts. Something you and I have covered for years would happen, and it's pretty much unfolding right in our face. But this has the potential here to get grossly out of hand. We have many things coming together right now at the same time. Let's lay it all out here. Again, an economy in free fall. It's just done. Debts and deficits ballooning, as I just covered. All the stuff I talked about at the beginning of this video. Now we have this whole specter of what's going to happen here with the debt ceiling. It's kind of interesting. Again, it's almost like it's scripted in a way. Let's think about it. They were arguing and they were fighting, and McCarthy wasn't going to give and Biden wasn't going to give. Then all of a sudden McCarthy says, hold on a minute, you know what? We're going to be fine. Biden says so too. Now all of a sudden they're at each other's throats here. And you got the mummy of a president here, Bidenstein. Now, he's on the attack. Blaming everything on, of course, Republicans. And, look, you know how this works. This supposed two-party system, which is really just one, it's a mechanism to keep these people hating this people and these people hating these people more back. That's all it is. It's one party. And they're working towards one goal, helping the Federal Reserve fulfill its end game to become the lender and buyer of last resort. We're really there right now. With regard to the goal here of central banks, none more so than the Federal Reserve, to eventually own it all. They're there now, okay? And everything else is just a sideshow. You know that. Ballooning debts and deficits, all this here. And it's kind of funny. Again, we covered this last week. The panic from, let's say, Fed Chair Powell, from Janet Yellen, because again, there is an opportunity here, people. I want you to understand that it won't work, but it could potentially work. Meaning, if we default on the debt, okay, right there, the fuse is lit to end central banking. How do you kill a central bank? You will know the answer to that. Prevent them from issuing one single dollar of debt. Just one, they implode. Now, if we max this out, if we breach the debt ceiling, the ripple effect through the markets is going to be extreme, okay? But that's part of the pain that we would all have to endure as we get rid of these central planners, okay? Central banks, central planners, they're setting the stage. They run the entire show, period. You all know that. But it would have to be followed up by a revolution, which we will not have, because central banks have the people by the throat. You all know this here. They've created dependency on the system, and this dependency on the system assures that there will not be a revolt or a revolution. I mean, a dog won't bite the hand that feeds it, right? Well, maybe my dog will. One of my dogs will. I have three, as you know. Two older ones that are kind of sick. It's very sad. And then I got Coco. He's roaming around here somewhere. Anyway, a whole other conversation here. But there is an opportunity here. Honestly, I wish sincerely that we would default on the debt and that it would be followed up by a revolution and take back the system. If we can do this, if we were able to do this, if there were enough of us, we could win. We could win right now. Right now, we're all on the losing side of this. Again, when you have a central controlling body that is collectively World Central Bank setting the stage, making the rules, well, you know what? How can you win? But we can win if we take down one central bank. Start with the Fed. A domino effect will occur. Bang, bang, bang. They all go down. It's the truth here. But like I said, it would need to be followed up by a revolution. People would need to suffer a little bit, but people they're too easy these days. Everyone wants it simple. They want it easy. They don't want to have to struggle. And central banks really have set it up that way as they manifest or move towards their goal here of owning the entire world and having complete control over the system. They already do. But to really, really push that home here and, of course, institute their new monetary system. Anyway, so I was just writing some stuff down here this morning, as you can see. And the biggest thing here is right now, the 10-year yield is 3.68. Do you realize the 10-year yield has jumped 30 basis points in just the past couple of weeks? Now, when this thing really starts to melt down, we're going to see 30 and 40 basis point jumps higher in a day. Okay, what are we really looking for, you and I? Okay, the eventual inevitable meltdown in the debt market. What we're seeing now is alarming. Watching these bond yields rise like this, the 10-year yield, it's kind of interesting, especially since the stock market seems to be defying gravity. A lot of this, again, is this political jousting with regard to the debt ceiling. Are they going to come up with some kind of a solution? I sincerely hope not, because as I said, I want a default. I think most of you would probably agree with that. It's time we take back the system. And the only way to do it is to default, period. Understand this. Okay, going back to that just real quick, let me elaborate. If in fact we were to default on the debt, the Federal Reserve starts to die at that moment. Within a few weeks, the Federal Reserve would be no more. It would be no more. And that would again start a domino effect. But the economy would suffer greatly. The world equity markets would suffer. Why? Because the sell-off that you're seeing now in bonds would be nothing compared to what would happen. You would watch the MMRI, the Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, free to you, free to everybody, link in the description of this video. You would watch this thing go to heights that people won't believe. Again, when the MMRI first came out, it was below 100. We are now in a perfectly normal zone. We are now in a high risk zone. We've been here for quite a long time. It would not take much, honestly, to push this whole system off the cliff. It's teetering on the edge right now. You all know that. It's teetering on the edge right now. So we'll see how this plays out moving forward here, but you know my take on it. Anyway, bond yields, keep your eye on this. 10-year yield, strength of the dollar on a relative basis, okay? Absolute strength is disappearing. Inflation is going much, much higher. We already got some admissions here from, let's say, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England. The Fed says no. The Fed says no. They're in control. They know what they're doing. And for them to say that, I mean, Powell, last week with some conference he was talking at, made it seem like, oh yes, don't worry, you know, we may not have to raise rates much more because everything is coming together. Yeah, everything's working exactly as they planned it would, and it's going to get monumentally worse. There's no way. Again, we're in a losing situation here, as long as the Fed remains in control, as long as central banks remain in power. Okay, and it's going to get a lot worse. You all know that here. And I wish, and maybe who knows, maybe there will be an act of God here to take place and get rid of these institutions because they are public enemy number one. You all know that. So anyway, going back to this, watch the 10-year yield, watch the bond market, watch energy prices here, people. All these things that we talk about every day, that we try to put together like a mosaic to try to make some heads or tails of this, but there seems to be such an overwhelming amount of rigging in this market right now. It's completely rigged. The United States, every so-called free market economy is no free market at all. They're all managed. They're being managed by their central banks, who are fostering an illusion. Again, as long as they can keep the stock markets from plunging, the general population believes everything is okay. You understand? But you and I, we can see a little further down the road. This is why we're betting against the debt, becoming our own central bank, holding hard assets, physical silver, my favorite asset of all time. You know this. You know everything here. I'm preaching to the choir. All right, people, let me just make sure I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I wrote Prelude to something big. Could be. Watching the 10-year yield, watching the bond market sell off here. Global bonds are selling off. That's a problem, and we need to keep our eyes on it. All right, people, that's it. Please comment. Please share the video. Thumbs up are always appreciated. I will see you in the morning, and it's going to be just lovely as always, all right? Love you live from the heart. I mean that. See you tomorrow.